Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the RF 24-105 f4L-IS. This is the high-end option for the kit lens for the R series cameras, the RF mount camera bodies from Canon. And I actually didn't get this as a kit lens, which I kind of half regretted because I definitely wanted to at least see if I did like it and how I liked it and if I would have liked to keep it. But I found it used at a good price, so I picked it up and I've gotten a chance to test it out and play with it. And today in this video, I'm going to talk about, is it worth it and who's it worth it for? Alright, so first of all, the build quality of this lens and how it handles with the full frame mirrorless camera bodies from Canon. The first thing that I noticed was actually how well this lens paired with the R body. I haven't had a chance to test it with the RP style body, but most of the cameras, the RF mount cameras that are available and or being announced right now are the R style body. So the R, the R5, the R6 are going to have very similar body styles to that. And I thought this paired really perfectly with that. It obviously was on the engineers' minds to pair it really well with that body, and that is very clear when you put it on the body and hold it because it just paired so perfectly, weight and size, and was just super comfortable and easy to shoot with. Now this is an L series lens, it is weather sealed, but it's not metal like the DSLR L series lens tend to be. It's like a hard plastic material. And I will say it does seem like it's very sturdy, like it would last a while. I don't know if it would necessarily survive being dropped from a high height or something, but hopefully you're not going to be doing that with any of your lenses anyway. One positive of having this hard plastic construction rather than the typical metal construction that you would expect is that it does pair so well with the lighter, smaller mirrorless bodies. So I guess it's a personal preference thing if you would prefer the heavier metal lens or the more plasticky body that pairs better with the mirrorless bodies. And I'll say that I expected to miss and want the metal of a typical DSLR lens, but I was actually pretty happy with how this lens felt and how it, again, paired with the R. So of course on this lens we have a focus ring, and it is an electronic focus by wire system. It doesn't have your typical distance markers like you would on a lot of higher quality DSLR lenses, but that information can show up in the viewfinder or the back of the screen on your R series mirrorless bodies, which I think is really useful and actually more useful than having it on the lens, because if it's on the lens, you have to look away from your viewfinder, whereas having it in the viewfinder, you can see the distance and everything just all right there with the rest of your settings and your framing and your picture and your exposure. And I think it's really, really helpful to have it that way. You also have, of course, the zoom ring. I think the zoom ring on this is really nice. It also has the lock button to keep it from zooming in and out, which is a great option if you're walking around with this, have it on a camera strap, maybe if you're hiking or just going through a city or traveling, whatever you're doing. And then we have the control rings that a lot of the RF lenses have. I've seen people react really positively and also really negatively to the control ring, but so far I've actually really enjoyed it. I have my ISO set there and I can't complain about it yet. So overall, as far as the build and design of this lens, I really have no complaints. I could see people having complaints if they were expecting more of a typical DSLR style L series lens, but for me, I give it an A+. I really love the build and the design on this lens. So as far as photography goes with this lens, it has the image quality that you would expect from an L series lens, and the sharpness that we've come to expect from RF mount lenses. It has beautiful color reproduction, and Canon has always had that and done really well with their 24-105 f4L lenses, and this is probably the best version of the 24-105L that's come out so far, in my opinion. The lens is super versatile in regard to the focal length. 24-105, that covers so many things, from wide angles for landscape or something to telephoto for portrait, and even maybe some short closer up wildlife or sports photography. You can do a lot of stuff with this lens, which is the point of the lens. Now, it becomes a little less versatile because of the slower aperture. f4 is not super wide. One thing to keep in mind though is on these mirrorless bodies, they handle high ISO really, really well. So cranking that one stop more from 2.8, it's really not going to destroy your image quality. You're not going to get too much noise in most situations because of the ability of these cameras to handle that high ISO. Another thing to keep in mind is that the telephoto end of this lens is 105 millimeters, which is plenty telephoto enough that even with a smaller aperture of f4, you're still going to be able to get some nice blurry backgrounds. Also, when you are at f4 and can't open wider than that, you're going to be forced to get photos that have a lot more detail. The wider your aperture is, the more detail that you're missing out on. Whereas when you stop down to f4 or sometimes even further, then you're going to get a lot more detail in the subject of your photos. So you're giving and taking there, but it's something to keep in mind. So with the size and versatility of focal length in this lens, as well as the image quality that you're getting out of this, 24-105 f4s, they're not the most exciting lenses on paper, but I think they're really undervalued and actually are really great lenses to have. I think this is a great option for a walk-around lens, a lens that you're just going to keep on your camera all the time when you don't exactly know what you're going to be shooting that day or what you're going to be doing that day. Also, if you just want to have one lens, this is, in my opinion, the one and done lens. It can do almost everything and it can do it pretty well in almost every situation. So the same image quality and sharpness that we get for photos holds true for video as well. And this is another instance of it being the one and done lens. A couple things to think about here is, first of all, a lot of styles of video shooting don't shoot at super wide apertures anyway, so only having f4 isn't going to affect some types of video shooters. And if low light is the worry, again, all of the bodies in the R system can handle high ISO really well, so that's not really something that you have to worry about too much. And I'm going to say again, the versatility of this range of focal length makes it easy to be the only lens you have to shoot on in a lot of cases. It's also image stabilized, and the image stabilization in this is really nice. The image stabilization on RF lenses work together with the extra contact points and information that it's sending to the R series cameras, and it creates an even higher level of optical stabilization through the lens, and it shows. The image stabilization is really nice, makes for great performance. This, for a handheld shooter, is again an easy option for a one and done lens. So with its size, its image quality, its image stabilization, its versatility and focal length, this lens is really a no-brainer. You can keep it in your bag as just a backup for when you need a focal length that you didn't necessarily otherwise bring with you, or you could just keep it on your camera and have it as the lens that you go to when you're doing run and gun style filming. It's a great option. All right, so is it worth it and who's it worth it for? And I'll start off by saying there are not a lot of cons to this lens and there are a lot of pros, but the few cons that it does have can be deal breakers for some people. One of the cons is a slow aperture. f4 is as wide as you're going to get with this lens. And if you have to have a faster aperture, it's a deal breaker right there. Another con is the price on this lens. New by itself, this lens costs $1,099 on Amazon right now. If you're buying it in a kit with the R bodies, you will save a little bit, and then it's going to usually run about $900, but that's a large price tag. So I think if you're coming fresh into the Canon full frame ecosystem without any other lenses, this is actually an amazing starting point because it is so versatile and with such good image quality. If you just need a really versatile all-around lens with amazing image quality, I think this is an easy yes if it's in your budget. If you need a stabilized zoom lens, this is a much cheaper option than any of the other RF 24-70 2.8, 15-35 2.8, 70-200 2.8. It's more versatile than those. and it's cheaper. Of course, you're not getting as fast of an aperture, so you have to take that into consideration as well. One thing I want to point out about the price is that this is a much cheaper option than the other RF mount L series zoom lenses, but it's actually a little bit more expensive than some of the third-party zoom lens options that you have on the EF mount. So for instance, there's the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 for the EF mount, and right now that's actually $20 cheaper on Amazon. There's also the Tamron 24-70 f2.8, and that's about the same price on Amazon as the 24-105. And both of these I think are good options, although there's a few things to keep in mind. First of all, the focal length isn't as versatile, you're only going to 70. They do have faster apertures. Both of them have IS, although from my experience, I actually own the Sigma 24-70 2.8. The IS on that is great for stills, it's not great in video. I can't speak to the Tamron's IS performance because I don't own that lens. But another thing is those are pretty big lenses, and you have to put an adapter on those lenses to be able to use it on the RF mount bodies. So you might have noticed that I have not had the lens in hand with me this entire video, and that's because I ended up deciding not to keep this lens. And that doesn't mean that it's not a great lens, and that doesn't mean that it won't necessarily be right for you. Like I said, I already have the Sigma 24-70 f2.8, and that covers a lot of what this lens does, and it has a faster aperture. I like shooting with faster apertures. It didn't really fit my style enough to keep the 24-105, and I thought that with the same money, I could get other options of lenses that would fit my style more. But again, you really just have to look at what fits your style and your needs and fits into your budget. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in this lens or any of the other gear that I mentioned throughout this video, I will have affiliate links in the description below at no extra cost to you. If you use those links, it'll help support this channel so that I can continue making videos for you guys. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think about this lens. Let me know what lenses you're looking at or what lenses you currently use right now. Leave that in the comments below. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. See you guys.